There's a figure on the security tape that doesn't make sense. Tall, slow, moving through an empty street at 2 a.m. with its arms bent backward at the elbows, its body folding and unfolding like something that learned to walk from a diagram. And it's smiling. Not the smile of a person who is happy, something wider than that, something that doesn't stop. The footage first surfaced in 2012, embedded in a Reddit post by a user named blue_title. The post was titled "Smiling Man, Real Encounter, Not Fiction," and in it he described something that had happened to him 2 years earlier in an unnamed American city. He was 20-something, walking home late after a party, cutting through a quiet urban street he'd taken 100 times before. He described himself as a rational person, not superstitious, not prone to panic, the kind of guy who rolled his eyes at ghost stories. That framing matters because what happened next destroyed something in him he never quite got back. He rounded a corner and saw a man on the opposite sidewalk, tall, unusually tall, moving in a direction that seemed to be toward him but wrong somehow, like the body was oriented one way and traveling another. The figure was swaying, arms out at strange angles, head tilted back. blue_title's first thought was that this was someone having a medical episode, a seizure while walking, something neurological. He started to cross the street to help. Then the figure turned its head toward him, and it was smiling. Not in distress, not confused. The expression was deliberate, focused. The figure began moving faster, that same unnatural gait, still smiling, and blue_title ran. He ran 5 full blocks and didn't look back. When he finally stopped, shaking, he described a feeling he struggled to articulate. Not just fear, but wrongness. Like something in his brain had flagged that encounter as fundamentally outside the category of normal human behavior. Not dangerous human, something else. He never reported it. He said he didn't think anyone would believe him. He sat with it for 2 years before finally writing it down. Here's what made the post explode. Within hours, other users started responding, not with skepticism, but with recognition. I saw something like this. This happened to me outside a train station. I've never told anyone about this. The thread accumulated hundreds of comments, dozens of them describing eerily similar encounters. A tall figure, strange movement, that smile, that feeling of profound wrongness. Some described it happening in different countries, different decades. The details that kept repeating weren't vague, they were specific. The arms, the gait, the smile that seemed to be for you, only you, and to contain something you couldn't name. But here's where the story gets complicated. Because in 2009, 3 years before blue_title's post, a short horror story had circulated in certain corners of the internet. It was called The Smiling Man, written as a first-person account, and it described almost exactly the same encounter. Same tall figure, same backward bent limbs, same smile. It was fiction, its author would later confirm that. A piece of creative writing, fairly well crafted, posted quietly and mostly forgotten. Or so it seemed. The question researchers and internet historians began asking was, did blue_title read that story and consciously or unconsciously absorb it, then experience something real that his brain filtered through that template? Did the dozens of people responding with "Me Too" actually remember real encounters, or were they pattern matching to a description they may have encountered years earlier without remembering it? And then the deeper question, does it matter? Here's what they don't tell you about viral horror content, and this is where it gets genuinely interesting. In 2012, the year Blue Title's post spread, a small ecosystem of websites and YouTube channels had begun to realize something important. Fear is extraordinarily monetizable. Not the cheap fear of a jump scare, but slow, creeping, participatory fear, the kind where the audience becomes a co-creator. The Slender Man phenomenon had already demonstrated this, a fictional character invented in a 2009 Photoshop contest that spawned thousands of stories, a video game series generating millions in revenue, and eventually a documentary film. The found footage aesthetic that made these stories credible was essentially free to produce and drove enormous traffic. By 2013, professionally produced real encounter videos referencing the Smiling Man were generating between $8,000 and $15,000 a month in ad revenue on a single middle-sized channel. The story had become a franchise without ever having an owner. Studios began developing projects, merchandise appeared. A 2014 short film adaptation won festival awards. The original Reddit post, which had asked for nothing and claimed only honesty, had become the seed capital of a minor horror industry, none of which ever returned a cent to Blue Title, who largely disappeared from the internet shortly after the story blew up. And here's the thing that should make you uncomfortable. The structure that made the Smiling Man story so potent, the ordinary person, the rational self-identification, the reluctance to come forward, and the community of corroborating witnesses, is identical to the structure used by actual witness testimony. It's identical because it evolved to feel credible. The internet didn't invent this. Folk legends have always used this architecture. Medieval accounts of demonic encounters followed the same template. So do witch trial testimonies. So do UFO sighting reports from the 1950s. What changed is the speed. A story that once took decades to calcify into legend now takes 72 hours. And the machinery that amplifies it, recommendation algorithms, ad revenue models, the psychological reward of belonging to a community of believers, has a direct financial interest in the story being real, or at least feeling real. Platforms don't profit from your skepticism. They profit from your engagement. And nothing drives engagement like a smiling figure in the dark that you're now wondering, just slightly, if you've ever seen yourself. The real demon in the Smiling Man story isn't on the security tape. It's the system that learned to feed on the part of your brain that can't quite explain why something felt wrong in the middle of the night, that monetizes the gap between what you know and what you fear. The story is a mirror, and what it reflects isn't a figure with a smile too wide for its face. It reflects us, our loneliness, our need for others to say, "Yes, I saw it too," our willingness to pay, in attention and in money, for the feeling that the darkness contains something that noticed us. Blue Title's original post is still up, the comments are still there, and somewhere in the middle of them, someone wrote, "I used to think I was crazy for not reporting what I saw. Thank you for making me feel less alone." That person was real. Whatever they saw or thought they saw was real to them, and that might be the most unsettling part of all. So here's the question I want you to sit with. In a world where algorithms are specifically designed to make the unverifiable feel true, how do you actually know what you believe and what you've been carefully taught to believe because someone, somewhere, profits from it? Drop your answer in the comments, and if this kept you up, there's a lot more where that came from.